teacher that is new to the area, tell us a little bit about the teaching of today. And now we're going to introduce Mr. Stanley Coish, and most of the people around here know it, especially a lot of the students that he's taught. Thanks, Stanley, for letting us come in and have a chat with you.
You're kindly welcome, although I'm not too up on it. I never used a mic before.
Well, that's all right. I'll hold on the mic for you. Now all we got to do is have a chat, and hopefully we're going to find out a lot about your teaching days and what made you enjoy it so much.
How I started off, the last teacher that I had, well, I enjoyed going to him, and as a result, I followed his pattern, and I decided I was going to go in summer school, and I spent 2 years in summer school, and then I came to Kings Point in 54, was it? Bessie?
No, 46, was it?
46 is right. Get tangled up in the dates a bit. 1946 I came to Kings Point. I came down on the Clyde, the motor vessel Clyde, or the steamer Clyde, from Lewisport. I had a little bit of a hang up. I left Saturday evening and came to Lewisport. I got to Lewisport Sunday morning, and I never left Lewisport until Tuesday to come down here.
Quite a difference in traveling in those days to get around than it is today when you can jump in a car and go where you like, right?
Oh, that's right. When I left home, I had to go about 15 miles in boat. And you had to watch for the rising and falling of the tide, because we had to cross a bar, and if you got there when the water was low, you got caught lots of times in the boat and had to wait till the water rose and lifted you off. But now some of the fellows that had boats with cabins on them knew to run, and there was a bar rock, and they had a right for that bar rock. Now they wouldn't strike them, but there'd always be someone up on the barricade watching for the rock with a light. And when they get to one, they'd haul out round to the right.
Now, Stanley, tell us a little bit about where you grew up and what exactly brought you to Kings Point area. I know it was teaching, but something must have kept your interest to keep you here.
I grew up in Britannia, Trinity Bay. That's on Random Island, and well, I didn't know where I was going to go teaching. I was interested in going, and the time of the year was running out, so I went in St. John's, and that's where I got my appointment from the Department of Education. Then there's there's Dr. No, he wasn't doctor. There's two men in that department, that's all. Anyway, they only offered me, they said there was another school, and I don't know rightly if that was Rattling Brook School or not. Afterwards I come to figure out it might have been Rattling Brook School. They had two teachers needed, so Kings Point was one. And that's the one they offered me, and I decided that was it.
So you came here and started teaching some of the children in Kings Point. Now, most of those children, I guess, have grown up, and a lot of them, I was talking to one just today that you taught in the early years, and she still says Mr. Coish. So there must be a lot of respect when you was teaching the kids.
Oh, there was, boy. There was a lot of respect. Mr. King came down here from Deer Harbor. I came I got here on a Thursday. I left Lewisport on Tuesday, got here Thursday morning. And seeing through the last part of the week, I got in contact with the chairman of the board, No, I was talking to the chairman of the board on the way on the boat. I decided not to start school until the following Monday. So Sunday, when War's truck came over the road from Badger, Melvin King came, and I don't know how he got from Springdale here. Probably they had a boat there to pick him up. But anyway, he started school Monday morning, same time. And we were close buddies then till Christmas. Christmas, he decided he was going home, and he said, "Are you going?" First I said no. And I said, "I'll go home with you if you will come back after Christmas." I said, "You're going to home now to stay after Christmas." But anyway, the last day or so we were here, "Yes, boy, I'm going to stay home. I'm not coming back after Christmas." Well, I said, "I'm still going home." And we arranged for Roy Foster to take us across to Springdale on dog team. We left here early in the morning. I don't know what time. I dare say it was pretty near 6 o'clock when we left Kings Point, because they had a little difficulty getting from here to Kings Point. Roy lost his sled up there on Turncoat Hill and broke her, and he had to go up and get Squires' Comatic to take him to Springdale. And there was only there was another dog track across the neck. There was just where 3 or 4 people walked across from Roberts's Arm, coming home for Christmas or for the weekend, and therefore we couldn't ride all the way. We could ride down hills and over the levels and over the ponds. We had to do a lot of walking. So anyway, we got, I don't know, it was 9 o'clock or something like that when we got to Springdale. We went aboard the boat, and it was going to take us up to South Brook. And they had a lunch ready there, or got a lunch ready for us. Now, we didn't stay aboard the boat till we left. We came up, we went up to the store and one thing and the other. Wandered around a little bit before we left to go to South Brook.
You know, Stanley, the difference in schools today, most schools are big, huge buildings, 10, 12, 14 classes. I guess most of them back then were one-room schools?
A lot of them. A lot of them were one-room schools. There was a one-room school here at Rattling Brook and one room at Kings Point. There were 2 one-room schools at Kings Point at that time. Salvation Army had one, and United had one.
And what grades were taught in those schools, Stanley?
All grades. Wherever you were, that was it. And there wasn't too much teaching done, remember. There was a lot of setting lessons, and they'd study them, and then the next day you'd give them a little bit of work on them, and so forth.
Now, all the grades together, did that become a hard thing to sort of separate the classes and the difference in lessons?
No, that wasn't all that hard, because you take a certain grade, and you have a reader. Well, you take that class up in front of you. The others would go on with their work, whatever was set for that day.
Right.
And as soon as you finish seeing to this class, you take a look around the school, and if they needed help with maths, because that's usually what it was in the morning, maths, you'd go around the school and help them with anything that they had difficulty with, and let them go on again. They did a lot on their own. The pupils got a lot of credit to be given to them for those who got ahead, because they were anxious in working.
Now, the schools read a little different back those days too. I guess some of the people watching here can remember probably bringing armloads of wood to school.
All right, you had to bring your wood. You had to, if the children didn't bring the wood, that was it. You know, you had no heat. Lots of times, some of them who lived near the school, if they come along and forgot their junk of wood, they dart out and get one.
Now, did each student have a responsibility of lighting the fire, or was it the teachers?
No, that was the students, the bigger boys, and they took a week's turn, lit the fire in the morning. Well, there's no problem that way at the beginning.
So now the different chores around class too, around the classroom. I guess you had different people doing like erasing the board for you at the evening and different types of things like that.
I scattered time, I erased the board, but the bigger girls would take their turn sweeping the school, 2 of them, and well, they more or less evened off with the boys lighting the fires. You know, they swept school in the evening, and next week there was 2 more. Sometimes you kept a close record of that, because if you didn't, Scatter wanted to skip out and didn't want to sweep the school. But that was their chore.
Was there any extra marks now for doing a good job in these chores?
No, not really. They just did it on their own.
Now, how did the parents react to a teacher coming into Kings Point and starting school and teaching the kids like this? Did you have a good response from parents around?
Oh yes, there's a good response from parents.
Now, when you
never had any problem at Kings Point.
Now, when you came to Kings Point, were you a single man, or you had already been married then?
Single man.
So you met your wife here in Kings Point?
At Rattling Brook.
Here in Rattling Brook.
Yeah.
Now, you came to Kings Point first. You only taught up there for what, a couple of years, and then
2 years up there.
And went to where?
Britannia.
Went back to Britannia. And how long you spent in Britannia?
2 years.
And you came back to Rattling Brook again?
And then I came back to Rattling Brook, yes.
And you spent a good many years there in Rattling Brook teaching?
Oh yes. The last time I was here, I spent 17 years. I taught school in the last year to that old school, the dwelling house that's there on the side of the road now, that I taught school in that one. The last year that was open.
Now, most teachers, when you talk to them, they got a favorite thing that happened or something that they keep in their memory. Is there anything special that happened to you where you were teaching that you can tell us?
Not that I can think of.
I see you got a picture in your hand. Looks like it's all girls. Did you have a class that be taught of all girls at one time?
No, that was Sunday school class.
The Sunday school class?
At Kings Point, yeah.
So you wasn't only a teacher in school, you also taught Sunday school?
Oh yes, I went to Sunday school every Sunday, and I taught Sunday school, a little class in Sunday school. And old Mrs. Strong from Kings Point was the superintendent. She was Walter Strong's grandmother. And Junior, I don't know if you remember him, Terry? Junior Strong?
No, I can't remember. Not.
No, he was one of the younger, one of the first ones up there. He'd be in Junior Strong. He'd be in class probably with some of the Tilley boys, Ross Tilley's boys.
Ivan and him, is it?
Eh?
Ivan Tilley and...
Not Ivan. Don and Sandy. Bryce was finished school. Bryce only went, I don't know how far he went through school, but he never went to me at all. He used to be in the woods with his father when I was up there. And there's his sister, Olive, right there.
Now we'll get a look at this, a close look at this in a little while, and show the people the picture. But now, up through the years, you've taught a lot of people, and there's still a few of them around here. Can you throw us some names of some of the students that's still around that you taught throughout the years?
Well, in Rattling Brook, there's Bryce,
That would be Bryce Dahl.
Bryce Starr, Dexter Edison, Neil Bartlett, a lot of them moved away, see boy.
Now, you got in front of you now, behind the camera, Terry is here, and I think Terry was a student of yours too, wasn't
That's right, oh yes. Terry was a student. There's a gang of them fellows.
Hard knocks.
Not that bad, I must say. I did have a few little problems now and then, but nothing serious.
Well, I guess every teacher runs into a few problems.
Yes, right.
None of you couldn't handle it, right?
No, nothing like that.
But now, no matter who you talk to around, not only in Kings Point, Rattling Brook, when you go to Aries Arbor and that area, Mr. Coish, when you start talking about Mr. Coish, oh yes, the teacher. Everybody know you as Mr. Coish the teacher.
Oh yes.
What made you so famous as Mr. Coish the teacher?
I don't know. That was the only Coish around here then. That was before Ross came. When Ross came up point, that was second Coish.
But they grew to a lot of respect for Mr. Coish, and I guess it was the way that he taught them and the respect that he gave back to the students.
All right, no doubt that had a lot to do with it.
Because I keep hearing a lot of the people who I talk to, if you did something for Mr. Coish, he appreciated me doing something for him. So I guess that
right.
It's give and take, right?
That's right, it's a give and take game by teaching. Teaching is a wonderful job.
And you enjoyed it?
I enjoyed it, yes.
Now, in my hand there, I got a little tray, ashtray we call it. And you was telling me before we started that was given to you by a certain student.
Henry Newberry gave me that. I don't know why, I suppose. He figured if I had it home, someone might come in and want to smoke a cigarette and would make use of it. So that's the way it was used. I never used it.
Now, when you started out teaching, I know today they probably got the student-teacher ratios probably 20 or 25 to 1 for one teacher. In a one-room school, what kind of a ratio student?
Oh, you had anywhere from 35 probably. You might have had 40 pupils, and all from grade 1 or kindergarten up to grade 11. First year I taught, I had all grades plus a grade 11 taking a supplementary paper in mathematics. And you know that her mind was on mathematics from the time she came in the morning until she went out in the afternoon. And if she came up on a problem, if I couldn't see to it right away, I took it and had a look at it a little bit later, and we discussed it, and that was it.
No,
And she passed the grade 11 on Christmas.
some of the differences today, most teachers today specialize in either math or science or probably one or two different subjects. A teacher, when you started out, had to be a teacher in everything, right?
That's right.
So did you have to go to university and get special training for that, or is it just what you learned on your own?
I went to university and got so much training, yes. But I was after teaching several years before I went to university. And some of the things that were taught in university I never did use because I was after getting into my own route. I used to change from one thing to the other now and then, but I found out my way of doing things probably worked out better in the long run than some of the things that was taught in university.
Right. Now, I guess a lot of that had to adapt to the area that you were teaching.
Oh yes, right. I will say this, one of the best places that ever I taught was Little Bay Islands. I taught out there for 2 years, and that was the best place that, if you had a problem with a child in school, you just said the word to his father or mother whenever you met him, and that was it. It was cured up from there.
So they became part of the student's education.
All right. They were good like that, boy.
Now, I suppose you wouldn't be able to pick out one or two students and tell us that you taught of the career that they took on after they finished high school with you.
Morris Bartlett, he went in as a minister. But now I don't know what grades I taught Morris now, really. I taught Bill Coish, he became a minister too, but it was only because of my teaching.
Did any of your students that you know of follow your footsteps and become a teacher themselves?
Some of them became teachers, all right. I don't think it's because they followed my idea. Winston Newberry, Nelson Newberry, both of them, there's one family up to Kings Point. They became teachers. Don Tilly, he became a teacher.
Now, with the combining of schools again, you moved from Rattling Brook back to Kings Point to sort of finish up your teaching. What year did you finally finish teaching in Kings Point area?
1983, that's when I retired. I retired here. But I moved from Rattling Brook to not Little Bay Islands, no. Yes, I left Rattling Brook and went to Little Bay Islands. I spent 2 years out there. Then I came back to Kings Point again. In other words, I started off in Kings Point. I had 2 years there, and then I went to Britannia for 2 years, and then I came back here for 3. I was in Rattling Brook 3 years. I left Rattling Brook and went to Little Bay Islands. I was out there 2 years. And when I left Little Bay Islands, I came back to Kings Point again. And from Kings Point, that time I went to Northern Arm, Botwood. Northern Arm, I'll call it, because it was called Northern Arm North at that time. It was now a part of Botwood. And I stayed there for 6 years. That was an interesting school. I had all denominations there. RC, United Church, Salvation Army, I don't know, Pentecostal. And at the same time, there was at that school we had 3 teachers. There were 3 of us. And some of the pupils who went to that school could have gone to Botwood and could have taken the bus. The Salvation Army crowd could take the bus there because they had a bus on from Northern Ireland to Botwood. But they stayed and went on to me for that year. And one year I remember I had one girl who was doing grade 7, because as far as I went, 5, 6, and 7 I had. She was doing grade 7 in Botwood, and her sister was doing grade 7 in Northern Ireland. And for some reason, she wanted to get back to Northern Ireland. So her mother allowed this to happen, discussed it with me, and she came back and went to school. The two of them took the same classes, same grades. Now, not because she was going to do all that much better, but she wanted to be back with her own crowd in Northern Ireland.
I guess the word got around how good a teacher Mr. Coish was, and everybody wanted to be known.
I don't think that was the trouble. Probably they thought they could pull things over on me that they couldn't pull over on someone else. Although I never had any problem with this girl that came down and went to school. And a few days afterwards, I heard that her cousin wanted to come. And I more or less put a stop to that, because I was under the school in Botwood. The principal up there was my principal as well. And so I said, no, I don't think. You better have that other girl come. She had a sister there taking grade 7 the same time. So she never did come to me. Excuse me.
Now let's talk a little bit about the Christmas concerts and the extracurricular activities that used to go on. I understand, talking to a lot of the people around here, that in the older times, Mr. Coish was the one that made the concerts and helped put it all together and made it happen.
Oh yes, we'd get together about 3 weeks before Christmas. We'd pick up some material, and I'd go around different places. Mrs. Tilley at Kings Point, I often got dialogue books from her, and then we pick out a dialogue, choose this one, and then give them their parts, and that was about the size of it. To say that I got it all together, that wasn't right. The children had some say into it.
I guess the students looked up to the teacher that took the initiative to put it all together. Though, and I guess that's why they say Mr. Coish put it together.
Right. Yeah, right. Well, that's how it went. And if you got a recitation for someone, you gave him the book and he wrote it off. Because at that time there was a lot of writing to be done. So this is how the things would go.
Now, what do you think is the difference in the reading and writing today, especially with the speller that's not in the schools today?
I wouldn't know. I do know that some people were poor writers, and lots of times they were put down just because they couldn't write. And whether they had it on there to answer the questions or whatever, they were still put down, marked down. And that wasn't right. Some of them improved their writing a bit afterward.
Now, did kids need special help back then in being from the smaller communities and not being associated with the bigger schools? Like the rural schools like Little Rattling Brook School and Kings Point School, compared to what they are today?
They probably needed a little more help, but nothing much. They sort of they were coming from a small school, and they had the initiative to get down and dig it out on their own. Boy, that was.
So it made them work harder?
They worked harder on their own, yes. Yeah. And times when you had a problem, the youngster would take the problem And when he come back next day, he had it worked out. Well, he passed it along to me, and I'd have a look at it. Yes, that's good enough. That was the type of thing.
Now, in the days when you started out school, there was a lot of parents that probably didn't have high school and probably never got real far in school. Do you think that some of the schoolwork that you sent home with the children helped the parents learn also?
It might have been. I wouldn't like to say that.
Never had a parent tell you that they enjoyed helping the students and that stuff?
Not really, but I know they must have enjoyed helping them because, you know, the results that came out of it. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned just now you enjoyed teaching in Little Bay Islands. What made you decide to settle down in Rattling Brook as when you retired?
Well, my wife belonged here. And I spent so many years here that I got familiar with the people in Rattling Brook, the fine crowd. And I liked around in the woods and one thing and the other like that, and so I got familiar with the bit of woods that was around here.
So not only a teacher, you enjoyed rabbit kitchen, moose hunting, that type of thing?
Yes, right. Yeah.
I guess you enjoyed the knowing that June month come and you had a couple of months during the summer to do things like that too, fishing?
That's right. I did a bit of cod fishing. I didn't do any salmon fishing. Trouting and cod fishing.
So now what did you think when we finally wasn't allowed to get out fishing cod like we were one time? Now you got to be told when you can fish and when you can't. What do you think of that?
I don't know. That's cruel. It makes you feel sometimes that you should get up in the morning and go out and try and catch a codfish. Because after I retired, I wanted a little boat, and Harold, he said to me, build one. And I said, go on, boy, I don't know anything about building a boat. Well, I can show you so much. So that very year we started to cut some timber and cut the plank sticks. And he did come and help me put the boat together. Pardon me, framed her up. Once we got her framed up, went on from that, planked her, and I think it was August month when I finished her up. And she was up there lying in the sun for several days, and people said to me, you know, it's not best to let her dry up or to cark her while she's all dried up. But I paid no attention to that. I went on and carked her, and a few days afterwards I put her out. And at that particular time you could go and if you had your boat off, you could go and try for a fish. So my granddaughter was here, and we went out that evening, shoved the boat off and went on out, tried for a fish, and she caught the first one in, first little fish. She was so excited about that too. That was Melanie, oldest granddaughter.
Worry about your boat, and I guess that was the first boat and the only boat that you ever built?
No, that was the first one. I built one since then.
Have you?
Mm-hmm. Not as good a boat as the first one. Didn't handle as well in the water as the first one did.
And I guess building the second boat, and then all of a sudden we couldn't go fishing, and that must have broke your heart.
Oh, that was really sad. Because I'd get up here morning times, lots of mornings, and have my breakfast and go out, try for fish. I'd end up maybe down to Henry, maybe over Stair Rocks, maybe up Bully's Cove, all around. Before I started to build the boat, Elwyn said to me, you get the boat and I'll get the motor. So that was all right. I started to see about the boat, and for Father's Day in 1978, he brought me the motor. before I had the boat built. Number 10 Johnson.
Now, we took a few minutes just now and we were remembering some of the students that you did teach, and we'll get back to a little bit of that now. And I'm holding in my hand now a editorial written by one of your students, and he's talking about exactly what we were talking about when you were putting together the concerts, how you
Right.
were the main event, putting things together and gave everybody their parts. Will you go on just to tell us how, when you read that, what that meant to you?
Well, that meant a great deal to me. And then when I found out that he was after writing a book, Joyce gave me the book, Joyce and Harold. I was really interested in getting it and reading it. Randy used to have some difficulty with his writing. At one time, he'd have difficulty reading it, but now probably I might have to read it over a second time, some of it.
Right.
But so he's turned out to be a writer, which is really something worthwhile.
Now, we also was talking that you taught 3 generations of children.
Yeah.
And we mentioned one family here in
Well, that was
Kings
the
Point.
only family that I can think of. Lillian, not Lillian. What was her mother's name?
Phyllis, was it?
Phyllis.
Phyllis. Phyllis Daw she is now. Her daughter Lillian, and Lillian's daughter and son. I taught all them.
And most of them are probably still here and around the area?
Oh yes, around the area. Yeah, Kings Point.
Now, even when you retired, you didn't actually give up the connection with the school, because you still did a little bit of work, like correcting tests and stuff like that, right?
A little bit. I supervised the exams for 2 or 3 years at Kings Point. But I never got involved in, never went back to school after. Once I retired, that was it.
Now, come retirement day, were you happy to be retiring, or was that a sad day that you had to give up the
No,
school?
it wasn't a sad day at all. It was a nice feeling. What I used to sort of dread the most was having to come home in the evening and sit down and correct work that I did during the day or that children did during the day. That was the worst I found. I didn't mind in the classroom.
So a teacher's job didn't finish at 3 or 4 o'clock in the evening?
No, that's right.
Over and above the other personal things you had to do for yourself, you had
That's right. I had to get down and do some of that.
and prepare for the next day.
Yeah. And you know, I always found that Monday was my best day in school. Some people always talk about Black Monday. I think Monday was my best day in school.
Is that from being rested all weekend? Or?
It could have been. That I've wondered about that.
And you look forward to Fridays, I guess.
Oh, I certainly look forward to Fridays.
No, I've always said that to be a teacher, you got to be a special person. Do you agree with that?
I certainly do. You got to have something special about it. You got to get off your high horse. If you're the teacher, you got to get off and be down at the level with the grade you're teaching.
Right. So now, throughout the years, you've done numerous things. Have you ever thought about taking up another career when you were teaching and giving up teaching?
No, never did. I used to do a little carpenter work in the summertime. Work with Hewlett's for several summers. I used to enjoy that.
Now you mentioned earlier you like fishing. I guess you made a few trips in the woods doing a bit of trouting.
That's right. Yeah, I did, but I never walked in that much. I used to go in after we got the skidoos on the go, and we'd go up to Corner Brook Pond. Sometimes we'd go over on Jackson's Cove Road and go fishing.
The day that at different times in the year that students got to get needles. Back in the days when you were teaching, a lot of the times there used to be a certain boat come for these needles. What was the mood in the school when that boat would show up?
Not very good with some. Some of them used to dread it terrible.
Scratches.
I remember on Little Bay Island especially. No, I didn't. That's not right. That was Botwood. The nurse came to give the needles, and this girl was probably 10 or 12 years old. And her turn was about ready. And she called out to me. She said, "You hold my arm now while she gives me the needle." And I did, of course. And things worked out all right, but it would have worked out all right if I hadn't been there.
Do you think the student felt better though at knowing the teacher was?
Oh yes, I think she did. Yes, right.
Now, all kids didn't have to get what the dreadful scratches we call it, but it was only certain grades at that time, right?
Yeah, right.
And now I think grade 9, they got to get the needles. There's no more. Is there no more scratches? I don't think it's just needles now. Now, when you gave up teaching school and retired, how did you fill in the hours in the day that you had regularly been teaching? What did you take up doing then?
Piddling around the place, nailing on a few palings, out in the garden. We always had a little bit of gardens on the go.
Do you still grow out there in the back of the house now?
Yes, a bit. We had potatoes out there last year.
Never took up no special hobbies like whittling out of wood or.
No. The only thing I did was if I needed a sled, I got down to it and I made a sled. In '71, I think, was I got the first old skidoo. She wasn't an old one; she was a new one, but she was a hard thing to use. She was too light on the front, and if you went out on the garden and it was either a bit of crust there, you couldn't steer her. And because I had the skidoo, then I went in the woods winter time and cut my wood, and I cut a few logs. As a result, Harold and I built the stage down there and a little store on the shore. We built that between us. We cut the lumber for that.
Something to pass the time.
Oh yes, right. Yes, that was good pastime.
Now, I guess for anybody who haven't dropped by and visited you for a long time, you like to see visitors coming and.
Oh, I don't mind seeing visitors coming.
We tell everybody now, especially this year being celebrated as the year of the older person. We said to people last week when we had a talk with Blake and Bill Warford, we reminded people to get out and visit, make a older person's day a little special. Maybe there's somebody out there tonight that's watching that would like to come in and visit. Just drop by anytime.
Oh yes, that could be all right.
Now, you also like going for rides. I know it's a bad time of the year to get out and about for a man that's shut in most of the time, but during the summer now, when the spring breaks, when you wants to go for a ride, there's somebody out there wants to give you a ride, you'd take that up?
Yeah, sure, let's go for a ride.
I know me and you went for a ride one day and you seemed to really enjoy it.
I certainly did. And thank you.
We went up and visited a certain fellow up to the cabin there, and I've mentioned it to him a couple of times, and I think he'd like to see you come back. So maybe
Oh,
during
yes.
the summer we can make arrangements to get you back up to his
That's right.
cabin.
Yes, I'd like to go up.
Now, Stanley, I know we've taken up an hour or so of your time, and thanks for letting us come in, and I'm sure people out there is looking forward to seeing this. I know I'm saying this now at the end of it, but people have been saying to us over the couple of years we've been at this, oh, there's people in the area that needs to be interviewed, and get it on video that these people and their special interests. And you were one of the people that people kept saying we should get Stanley to give us a few words on the camera. Anything else you'd like to say to the people before we leave?
No, any more than I enjoyed working with the people in Rattling Brook. I was on the church boards for a bit, and I found them work well.
For letting us come in, and hopefully you'll continue to watch our shows on Wednesday night.
Yes, we'll do that. Don't worry.
Coming to you live from Stanley's living room here, and for anybody who wants to drop in, we just gave him a call and told him we were coming over. So that's the same you can do. And like I said before, remind you that this is the year of the older person, and make sure you do just what we done. Drop by and make somebody, suppose you only chat with them for an hour like we did. That'll give them a bit of a break from their days of doing just about what they do every day. Drop by any day. See Stanley, and other than Stanley, there's other people out there. Don't forget now, the year of the older person. Thanks very much. See you next week.